She started keeping the phone in her pocket, even in the kitchen. That night, I was at the stove stirring marinara, and the thing buzzed against her hip like a second heartbeat. She glanced at the screen, thumbed it dark, and walked past the table I'd already set. Our ritual was simple: dinner, a movie, a couch made for two. She scratched the side of her neck, eyes on nothing. "Dinner's ready," I told her. "I'm not hungry. I'm on a call," she said, even though the phone was dark and silent. I watched the empty chair across from mine and tasted tomato and salt and the first hint of distance. We used to joke over burned garlic. Now I ate alone. She stayed on that call until the credits would have rolled on whatever we used to watch. Later, in bed, she turned away, phone tucked under her pillow. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have cut the cord right there. But I thought I could fix it. I tried the soft route first. Flowers on a Wednesday. A reservation at the Italian place where the owner knew my order. A surprise Saturday matinee with seats we used to call the good row. "Thanks," she said at dinner, picking at a salad. "I'm just tired." "Tired of me or tired of work?" I asked, folding the napkin to keep my hands busy. "Don't start," she replied, eyebrows flat. "It's a phase." At the movie, she checked the phone every 10 minutes. The glow put a rectangle of fake daylight under her chin. When I glanced over, she held it closer, screen face down. "You need to be here," I whispered. "I am here. You're here like a mannequin's here." She made a tight smile. "Could you not? You're loud." By the time the credits started, I was done begging. We met friends that night at a backyard cookout. Our neighbor, Delgado, the retiree with a smoker that could feed a softball team. My buddy Nate from the shop showed up with his wife and a bowl of jalapeno corn. Lauren poured herself lemonade and found a cluster of people who weren't me. Delgado handed me a plate. "Where's your better half?" "Right there, phone in orbit," I said. Nate elbowed me. "You good? Ask me next week," I told him. When I finally got Lauren alone by the grill, she didn't look up from the screen. "Can we talk?" I asked. "About what?" "About you living in silent mode." She sighed. "I'm buried at work. New project. Numbers are off. My boss is breathing down my neck." "You want specifics?" "I want my wife to sit on the couch and watch a dumb movie with me." She took a sip, then gave me that look women give when they're testing the fences. "Not everything is about you, Mark." That landed. I put the plate down. "You're right," I said. "So here's what's about me. I'm done chasing you around the house with a plate of pasta." "What does that even mean?" "It means I eat when I'm hungry. I sleep when I'm tired. If you want to join, you know where I am. I'm canceling Thursday date nights until we want to be at the same table. I'll be at the gym those nights instead." Her mouth twitched. "That's your big move? The gym?" "It's not a move. It's a rule." Delgado called from the smoker. "Briskets up." She lifted her cup and walked away, but I saw the tiny frown like she'd put a quarter in the machine and it didn't start. That night, I washed the plates alone, put her untouched portion in a container, and set my alarm early for the gym. The next week, she leaned into silence like it paid a salary. She came home late, hair damp, saying things like deadline and crisis and all hands. Sometimes she went straight to bed without even brushing past me. Other times she'd park on the edge of the couch and stare at her phone with the brightness at minimum, thumbs moving inside that tiny private world, screen dimming the moment I entered the room. "Long day?" I asked once, pouring coffee. She rinsed her travel mug with her eyes on the tile. "Can we not do the recap? It's exhausting." "You're exhausted from talking to me for 30 seconds? I'm exhausted from doing everything. So, I should stop making dinner? Stop running the errands? Stop taking your car for oil changes? That everything?" The corner of her lip lifted. "Congratulations. You're domestic." "Yeah," I said. "And you're missing." She shrugged and checked her watch. "I have to go." I watched the door close and felt something important click into place. When someone shows you what they respect, believe them. I grabbed my laptop. I went to the bank website and separated what used to be ours. Rent and utilities kept their auto drafts. Everything discretionary split. I wasn't cutting her off. I was cutting off a fog machine. That afternoon, I stopped by her office with a white box of cannoli from the bakery she liked. I figured a 10-minute hello could remind us who we were. The security guard nodded me through. He knew me from holiday parties. Upstairs, the floor was mostly dark except for the glow of a few monitors. The woman at the nearest desk, short hair, sharp glasses, looked up. Hey, I said. Is Lauren still grinding? The woman blinked. She left at 4. You just missed her. What time is it now? I checked my phone. 6:20. She pointed at the cannoli. Those for her. Were, I said, trying to keep my tone even. Do you want one? She smiled. Yes. I gave her 2. On the way down, I texted Lauren. You close? Yeah. Still here. Project's on fire. Got it, I typed. See you later. On the drive home, I let the excuses shuffle. Traffic, miscommunication, office politics. They all fell apart the second they touched air. At home, I left the white box on the counter with a sticky note that said enjoy. Then I made myself a sandwich and sat at the table where we used to have dinner. I placed my phone face up. I didn't text again. She came in after 11, dropped her bag, hit the shower, and slid under the quilt like a shadow. Where were you? I asked. Questions tomorrow, she said into the pillow. By dawn, I was done with questions. I brewed coffee, scrambled eggs, and said nothing. When she walked into the kitchen yawning, I set a plate near her, but not across from me. Morning, she said, a little too bright. Smells good. Eat if you want. I have a meeting. She chewed carefully like the food had changed. Maybe it had. I kissed her cheek, walked her to the door, and watched her leave. Then I drove to a strip mall across town and sat in a chair opposite a man who looked like he'd been tailing people since pagers were cool. His card said Sal Higgins, and the walls of his office held pictures of him on boats with fish, which somehow made me trust him more. Tell me what you're looking for, Sal said. I laid it out. Phone in hand. Late nights. The office that goes dark at 6. The cannoli. He took notes without nodding, which I respected. 3 days, he said. Maybe less. You'll get what you need. Don't follow her into anything that could get ugly, I told him. I want facts, not a scene. You got it. I left and drove straight to work. The shop smelled like oil and coffee. Nate glanced up from a break job. You look like you put all your chips on red and the wheel's still spinning, he said. I hired a guy, I replied. He whistled. About time. I kept my head down for 3 days. I went to the gym. I made my own dinners. I didn't ask where she was when she breathed the word deadline and disappeared into the night. On the 3rd day, my phone buzzed at noon. Unknown number. I stepped outside into the sunlight behind the shop. Yeah, I answered. Drive to the park off Hillside, Sal said. South lot. I'm in a gray SUV. He handed me a manila folder through the window. No flourish, no speech. Inside were stills printed off a phone. Lauren stepping into a wine bar at 6 p.m., not midnight. Lauren in a booth across from a man in a navy quarter zip. Lauren laughing with her head tipped back like the world wasn't heavy. Lauren and the man walking hand in hand to a car. Lauren in his arms on a dim street, his face turned. Her face tipped up. A video thumb with the triangle. I didn't press play. I didn't need to. You want the names? Sal asked. I stared at the guy's profile and felt my chest go cold in a clean way. Not rage. Clarity. Yeah, I said. He gave me 2 names. The second one I already knew. Jenna, my wife's closest friend. The man was her husband. Sal watched my face. You okay? I'm done being okay, I said. Send me everything. That night I sat in the truck outside my house and called a number Nate had given me months ago just in case. A lawyer who didn't waste adjectives. Carter, she answered, and we set a time. I met her the same evening in a small conference room that smelled like dry erase and coffee. I laid the folder on the table. She opened it, scanned, closed it. You've got enough. Next steps, I said. Paperwork. You'll want to secure your essentials. Don't announce anything. Do not give her time to move money or build a story. Understood. She slid a list across to me. Do this quietly. When you're ready to notify, you do it with documents, not speeches. I went home and changed the schedule, not the tone. I put a small fireproof safe under my side of the closet and placed what mattered inside. I made a spreadsheet because that's how my brain works. I wasn't out to torch the past. I was out to stop pretending the present was the past. The next day when Lauren came home, she set down a paper bag like a peace flag. I picked up your favorite wings, she said, eyes softer than they'd been in weeks. I'm sorry I've been distracted. It's a lot. That why you've been in the office until midnight? I asked, leaning on the counter. She looked down. It's easing up. Good, I said. Eat. I already had dinner. She blinked, then smiled like she'd remembered how. I could rub your shoulders later. You've been tense. It's been a busy week. We sat at the table. She talked about work stuff, like she was reading a report to a stranger. I listened and let the apology float between us. It was slight and late, and if I didn't know what I knew, I might have taken it as a sign. I thanked her for the wings and loaded the dishwasher. When I left for the gym, she called after me. Back by 9. Maybe, I said. I'm working on a Saturday schedule shift. Nate asked me to help with a few trucks. You're never home, she said, and I turned at the door. You first. She swallowed whatever was next. Fine. Be safe. At the shop that weekend, I stood with Nate over a lifted pickup while he tightened bolts. You going to play along much longer? He asked. Not a minute more than it takes to do it clean, I said. Good. Want to grab burgers after? Rain check. I need to rewire the week. I'm done being an alibi. That afternoon, Lauren texted a string of messages about a Sunday brunch with Jenna and some other wives. I stared at the name. Jenna. I remembered her at our table laughing about silly things with Lauren, dropping off garden tomatoes, asking about the shop. I thought about what I had in the folder. The word that rhymes with storm wasn't big enough for it. Can't make Sunday, I wrote. New rule. I don't sit through group gossip while you scroll. She typed back, it's not gossip. We're supporting each other. Great, I answered. Support each other without me. I'll be at Nate's. Sunday, I was at Nate's indeed, hands greasy, when Lauren called and put me on speaker. You're on speaker, she announced. We were saying we miss you. Hi, ladies, I said, wiping my hands on a rag. A chorus of hellos. Jenna's voice was there too, clear and cheerful. Mark, you work too much, she chimed. Or not enough, Lauren added with a laugh that wanted to cut. I kept my voice even. I'm not a prop, Lauren. Take me off speaker. Jenna laughed again, but it didn't land right. I heard someone murmur. Lauren clicked off speaker. What's your problem? She asked quietly. My problem is you turning me into a punchline. I'm done performing. Don't put me in your stories. Use your own name. You're being dramatic. I'm being clear. I hung up before she could spin it. Nate watched me, eyebrows up. Well, he said, you didn't blink. Feels good. I told him. It did. A small thing, but clean. A boundary set on someone else's turf. That night, Lauren came home with a bag of steaks and 2 bottles of beer. Let's grill, she said, which used to be my language. No phones. Just us. Sure, I replied, because the grill was my territory and I wanted to see her play notes. We ate on the patio. She watched me longer than usual, hand wrapped around her bottle. You know I love you, she said. I know you love having options, I answered. She put the bottle down. What is that supposed to mean? It means I'm not chasing you, I said. If you want this house and this life, act like it. I'm trying. Then stop vanishing. She leaned forward. What would make you feel better? Truth. About what? About where you were Tuesday at 6. She stared. You don't get to interrogate me. You're right, I said, standing. I don't. I get to adjust. I'll be out most nights this week. Don't wait up. Mark. I picked up the plates and ended the scene. When she came to bed later, she pressed her leg against mine, slid her hand across my chest. It was a play I knew. She kissed my shoulder slow. Not tonight, I told her, voice level. We're not papering over whatever this is. She exhaled and rolled away. The rule held. On Wednesday, Sal texted me a short clip and 3 stills I didn't open. I already had more than enough. On Thursday, I sat across from Carter again, signed where she pointed, and left the envelope in my truck like unlit dynamite. Friday after lunch, I did one more thing. I typed out 7 words to a number Jenna had given Lauren for weekend plans. You should see something. No commentary. I attached a small set of facts. Not everything. Enough. I put the phone face down. I wiped my hands. 5 minutes later, Jenna didn't write back. 10 minutes. Nothing. Some part of me wanted her to respond with thank you, or how could they? Another part remembered it wasn't my job to script anyone's grief. I put the phone in my pocket and went back to the shop. The night in our house was quiet. Lauren came home with the same tired line and moved around like a person going through a drill. I cooked my own dinner and watched a game with the sound low. Before bed, I slid the folder and the envelope on the kitchen table. No speech, just paper. At first light, the door to our place flew open so hard it hit the stopper. Jenna was on the threshold in sandals and a hoodie, hair tied back, eyes blistered. How could you? She shouted, passing me without seeing me. How could you, Lauren? Lauren stepped out of the bedroom in a t-shirt, frozen like she'd been caught shoplifting by her mother. Jenna, what? Stop, Jenna snapped. Don't talk. Where were you on Tuesday? And last Thursday? And the week before? Do not lie. Do not say it worked to me. Lauren opened her mouth and closed it. Her face went a color I'd never seen on her. I couldn't help it. The laugh came out short and flat. You really thought we'd never compare notes? I asked, and the words tasted like steel. You thought this was a clever forever? No, Lauren said, palms up like she could push the air back into its box. This is not what you think. I walked to the table, picked up the folder and the envelope, and set them in front of her. Take a look, I said. Jenna didn't wait. She flipped the folder open and stared like she'd touched a hot pan. She looked at one photo too long, then at the next, then at me. That's my car, she whispered. Lauren reached for the papers. Jenna slapped her hand away. Don't, Jenna said. Do not touch that. Finally, Lauren looked down. The pages didn't give her anything she could spin. A video still was all elbows and faces and a parking lot light. It was enough. She closed the folder slowly like an old woman and put her hand on it as if it weighed 100 pounds. This is… I can explain, she tried. No, I told her. You can't. I was unhappy, she said, picking a path like a person in a maze. You could have said that. You chose this. Jenna shook her head so hard her ponytail slapped her neck. You broke my house so you could play at being 22, she said. I hope it was worth the rent. Lauren's eyes flicked between us. Jenna, please, not like this. There isn't a good like this, Jenna answered. She sat on our couch, put her head in her hands, and let out a sound that made me want to put a blanket around her. I sat next to her. I didn't touch her shoulder. I just sat. It's better to know now, I told her. Better than next year. Better than 10 years from now. She nodded, face hidden. I know, she said into her palms. Lauren tried to step toward me. Can we? No, I said. Pack a bag. This is my home, she said, the first spark in her voice all morning. It was our home, I corrected. Then you turned it into a lobby where you check in and out. Take your essentials. You'll arrange a time for the rest. I'm not interested in a scene. I'm interested in not living with someone who treats me like a backup battery. She looked toward the hallway. You can't do this without. I can, and I did. I replied, tapping the envelope. You'll find the formalities in there. Read it later. Right now, go get what you need. She stared at me, calculating angles that didn't exist anymore, then walked to the bedroom and started opening drawers. I stood by the kitchen counter and drank water. Jenna sat very still, then pulled out her phone, typed, deleted, typed again. I didn't ask who she was writing. Lauren came out with a duffel and a tote. She paused in the hallway like there might be a speech she could give to rewind the tape. I let the silence do the work. I'm sorry, she said finally. I believe you're sorry you got caught, I replied. That's all we've got. You don't have to be cruel, she said. I raised an eyebrow. This is me being decent. If you want cruel, I could have done this in front of your parents or at your office. I'm not that man. She swallowed and nodded toward Jenna. I'll call you, she said. You won't, Jenna answered without looking up. You won't ever again. Lauren opened the door, looked back once, then left. The click sounded like a gavel and a relief. Jenna exhaled. I can't go home, she said softly. You can sit here, I told her, or I can drive you wherever. She shook her head, searched the floor with her eyes. I'll call my sister, she said. She's in Maple Hill. It's 20 minutes. I'll make coffee, I offered. We sat at the table where 1,000 dinners used to live. She cradled the warm mug and stared at the steam. Why did you send it? She asked finally. Not angry. Curious. Because I know what it's like to be told a story that isn't true, I replied. I didn't want to be part of that for you. She nodded. Silence settled. Not hostile, just tired. When her sister's car pulled up, Jenna stood, hesitated, and put a hand on my forearm. Thank you, she said, for not making it a circus. Walk straight and keep breathing, I told her. That's the job for the next week. After she left, I cleaned the kitchen like a person closing a shop for good. I pulled the sheets off the bed and threw them in the wash because clean starts matter. Then I texted Carter. Done. She wrote back, understood. I changed the passcode on the front door. The day felt smaller and better than I'd expected. My phone lit up all afternoon with numbers I didn't know and numbers I did. I let most of them go to voicemail. Nate finally sent, "You good?" I typed back, "Better." He wrote, "Burgers tonight." I said yes. At the diner, he slid me a basket of fries and didn't try for a toast. "What now?" he asked. "Now I keep it simple," I said. "I work. I sleep. I see people who want to see me. I let the rest slide off the table." He nodded. "You moving out?" "She is. Papers are signed. We'll schedule the item pickup. I'm not dragging this." Delgado called the next day to ask if I wanted to borrow his power washer. I said sure because the back patio needed it, and because work with your hands keeps your head from chewing itself. On Monday, Lauren texted a paragraph about logistics, clothes, books, a plant on the windowsill. I sent her a list of times when I'd be gone and the superintendent could let her in. No names. No opinion. Just slots. She tried once for something more. "Can we talk?" She wrote. "We already did," I answered. "If you need something from the apartment, use the schedule." "You're cold," she sent back. "No," I wrote. "I'm solved." I didn't block her. I didn't keep a scoreboard. I watched sports in the evening on a couch that suddenly felt wider. The quiet wasn't a punishment anymore. It was space. People always assume the Big Bang is the hardest part. It's not. The days after are where the forks show up. Do you take calls you don't need? Do you show up to meetings that only exist to stir pain? I didn't. I changed my Saturday habit and went to the lake with Nate instead. When my manager offered me a project across town that meant better pay and cleaner hours, I said yes. When Jenna texted a week later to ask if I could recommend a good locksmith, I sent her a number and told her they were honest. We saw each other again by accident at Delgado's driveway. She was dropping off a pie because that's who she is. I was returning the power washer. "You look steadier," she said, standing with her hands in the pockets of her hoodie. "Sleep helps," I replied. "Does it?" she asked, and there was a tired smile under it. We talked about normal things for 10 minutes. Tires, weather, her sister's chaotic dog. When she left, she said, "If you ever want to have coffee and not talk about it, we could do that." "Coffee where we talk about tires and weather?" I asked. "That's the dream," she said. We did that a week later at a diner where the waitress calls everyone Han. We didn't trade war stories. We talked about what a rebuilt day looks like. Small steps. Clear rules. She wore a different ring. I didn't ask. We walked out to the parking lot with a plan to maybe do it again, and nothing heavy hung between us. It was human. It was enough. Lauren moved into a place on the far side of town. I heard through a mutual that she hated the commute and the upstairs neighbor with early morning boots. She sent 2 more texts about items she couldn't find. I answered both with times and a photo of a cardboard box labeled kitchen. That was our last exchange. The shop rolled on. Nate and I took in a fleet contract that paid better than anything we'd had in years. I bought a truck I'd been dog-earing on dealer sites, but never pulled the trigger on because I was saving for vacations that turned into work emergencies. Now the keys felt earned. I signed paperwork on a small place closer to the lake. A 1-story, clean, with a porch where a man can sit and not check over his shoulder. One evening I walked in with takeout and put it on the counter of my new kitchen. The place was quiet and it wasn't empty. I set 2 plates because I'd gotten used to having someone over sometimes. Nate after a long day, or my cousin with his 2 kids, or Jenna once in a while when she needed to sit somewhere that wasn't full of memories. She knocked that night and held up a bag of salad like a peace offering. "No speeches," I told her with a small grin. "I only brought croutons," she replied. We ate. We talked about tires again, because it's safe and because the world keeps spinning even when people make wrecks. When she left, she stood in the doorway and looked at the porch. "This suits you," she said. "It does," I said. More than I knew. She nodded once. "Good." A month later, Delgado had another cookout. He waved his tongs when he saw me. "You survived," he said. "Turns out it wasn't a life or death thing," I answered. "Just a respect thing." He pointed the tongs at me like a general. "That's the only thing," he said. People asked polite questions. I gave polite answers. No one got a show. That was the theme. My life got smaller where it needed to and bigger where it mattered. Work was steady. The lake was closer. The couch was comfortable the way a good pair of boots is comfortable. You don't notice them until you need to walk. Sometimes I'd think about the first night with the marinara and the phone that couldn't stop buzzing. I used to be the man who would stand there asking for a look, a word, a promise. I'm not that man now. I don't chase anyone. I make dinner. I invite. If someone wants the seat across from me, they sit. If not, I eat while it's hot. I ran into Lauren once at a grocery store near my old neighborhood. She was in the produce aisle staring at avocados like they might give answers. We both paused. She gave a small wave. I nodded. We didn't approach. There wasn't anything to recover. Respect doesn't come back because you make a speech in aisle 3. At the register, the cashier asked if I wanted paper or plastic. Paper, I said. Every time. Outside, the air felt like new weather coming. I loaded bags into the truck and thought about how quiet used to sound like punishment. Now it sounded like dignity. People will tell you that standing up for yourself is loud. They're wrong. It's calm. It's a hand on the table and a sentence with a period. Back home, I put groceries away in a kitchen I paid for, with a calendar that didn't include pretending. I sat on the porch with a glass of water and watched the light change. My phone buzzed once. A photo from Nate of a fish he swore he caught without Delgado's help. A message from Jenna brought my sister's dog to the lake. He hates ducks. I sent back a dog emoji and a thumbs up because that's all that was needed. The end wasn't fireworks. It was a door closing and a lock changing and a life that kept moving forward on rails I laid myself. She lost the comfort she thought would always be there. I lost the weight I thought I had to carry. We both got what we chose. When I tell this story, people ask what line did it for me. It wasn't the last straw. It was the first lie I caught myself trying to believe for her. That's when I set the rule, no more pretending. That rule built the rest. It made the call to the man in the strip mall. It made the envelope on the table. It made the quiet in this house something you step into instead of away from. I didn't win. It wasn't a game. I just stopped playing. And when I walked off the field, I took my name with me. That's the only thing you have to protect. Everything else you can rebuild. Your porch, your Friday nights, your seat at the table. The door's open for the right people. The rest can stay on the other side, telling stories to their phones.